Um, I would like to switch to English,
I switched to English.
if possible, because I wanted to ask you, as you came to Brazil and had to get used to Portuguese and all of these kind of things, when did you realize you were going to be a teacher or a professor? Now you're a professor, right?
Oh my goodness. You see, this is a long story, but I'll try to summarize it. My father, he said, you have to learn English. At the age of, when I was 11, and my sister and we had, I will tell you like this, we had to go to the English class because he said we had to go. And we did everything he asked. And then we started studying. At the beginning, I cried a lot at home. I couldn't understand. And I was put in a group of students who had already studied a semester, and they knew a lot of English, and I didn't. So I suffered. But okay, as time went by, I learned more and more. And at the end of the semester, my grades were excellent, and I started enjoying it because it has to do with this. As you understand what you are saying, what you are doing, what you are being asked, then things make sense. And then I started liking it very much. As I finished the course, I was 16, 17, I told my parents, I want to go to university and study a course that has English. So I will study to be a secretary. I was going to study this at Unicinos at the time. And my parents said, why don't you try a Turkish, which is free, you don't need to pay, maybe you pass. And then, no, but I went to study to be a secretary, and at Turkish, they don't have the scores. And then my mom insisted, okay, because she insisted so much, I enrolled in this vestibular entrance exam for letras, which was the course that involved English. And then I passed at Turkish before, this was many years ago, before the moment to take the test at Unicinos, I already knew I had passed at Turkish. So I didn't go to Unicinos for the vestibular. And then I started, and then because I didn't want to be a teacher at the time. Yeah, this is very funny. I enrolled there to study to be a translator, which is this bacharelado. Then I studied a lot, it was a really good course, really good, because we had to translate from Portuguese into English, from English into Portuguese, about 8 semesters doing this. But during the course, it usually happens, you are invited to work in different places. There's a vacancy there. And then you want to get your money, because you need to pay for the bus fare, you need for a snack, for photocopies, books, stuff. Going out, because sometimes I went out and I studied hard. And then I started...
Teacher, do you leave outside school?
Yeah, something like that, but we have to. And then I started enjoying it from I don't know, the 5th semester on. I started, I like it. Because the classroom has this, it gives you this feeling of making people happy, you're making people learn a new language. It's something that open the horizon, I don't know. It's really nice. And then I started liking it. And then after that, I did a specialization course. Then I did the masters, the doctors. And after I did the doctors, I started studying this licenciatura to have also this education. And so I think I decided to be a teacher during the course to be a translator. It's really funny. I also tried the public contest to be a translator. I am they say sworn translator, public translator, and interpreter, which is nice as well, nice. But the classroom is really, really good. I feel very happy when I see students like you and many others who are speaking, who travel and can communicate and interact with foreigners or receive foreigners here in Brazil and communicate well. For me, it's the biggest prize, the biggest present I can get.
That's quite cool because normally people, I have an example in my family, but normally people start studying any course like Portuguese, physical education, all of these education courses, let's say. And when it comes to doing the internship, for example, they give up, right? Like, I don't like the classroom, so I'm not gonna be a teacher because, well, or for example, I was doing the internship and then one of the teachers of the school I went told me, mate, don't do it, right? You're not gonna receive enough money, for example, or something like that. And my uncle, he loves physical education and he studied twice. He did the course twice, and when there was the time to do the internship, he just gave up. He used to stop the course, never graduated. He always says when you are talking to him about university that he loves the physical education course, that is super complete. It's full of nice things, and it's something that you can see when he's saying that, when he's telling the story, you can see how nice he thinks the course is, right? But when it comes to the internship, he gave up. He always gave up because he couldn't stand the idea of teaching kids. So it was quite nice to hear that you were doing a different course, and when you had the experience of teaching, you liked it, and then you wanted to start working as a teacher, right? And the examples I have in my mind are all the way around, are different. So that's quite interesting.
And this, I didn't know about your uncle, but this is quite common. Like, people quit the course. It's a pity. Because of internship, like they are afraid, they feel uncomfortable. It's a pity because the classroom is so nice. Of course, there are challenges. We work really hard at schools. The groups are big, but we learn so much with young people. You are always learning with young people because they are full of energy. They come with their ideas. You learn slang. Like, sometimes they say, I will never forget once when this was many years ago. I was teaching English and the students said, porque ele é emo. And then everybody knew what it was. I didn't know. And what is this? Teacher, how come you don't know that? I was so embarrassed. I don't know what it is. This was many years ago. Ai, gente, o que é emo? Então, I'm always learning like this chipar when they started using, which comes from English. It is an English word. And many other things they use, even in Portuguese, os mano. Some things they use, which is really funny. And they are always inventing. These days, I came to know another word. Now I won't remember. For me, it's a lot of fun. I think it's really nice how they, how creative they are with language. And sometimes kids invent words in English. Eu já tô finishando já tô terminando.
It's very funny.
Startando, né?
Well, I recently this word came across me in one of the classes I was teaching. That is buildando. Now they use buildando as building, right?
I didn't know that.
For games, So fulano is buildando something for us. That's funny because it's all Portuguese, but buildando comes a little bit from English, right?
Yeah.
But all right. And when did you start working as a professor? Because we have these different paths, let's say, when you start working as a teacher, right? You may be eventually you may start working as a professor if you want, right? And when did it happen to you?
I had two experiences at university. The first one was at URGS. I was a substitute professor at URGS because they usually many people retire, many professors retire, and many times the federal government does not offer this public contest to hire new professors, and they need professors. So they have this selection that they call it's a selection for you to work for 2 years. And then I heard about it and I participated, and I was chosen. Like there were 5 vacancies, I think, and it was a great time I had there at URGS. I went to Campos do Vale. Of course, the first days I was very nervous, but I had already finished my master's. This is something important to tell, because without a master's degree, you can't work at university. And okay, then I worked for 2 years. I knew that after those 2 years, I would have to leave the place, but it was great because it really opened doors. At the same time, I was already working at La Salle, but not at university. I was working at the Language Institute. Let me see. I worked at the Language Institute for 6 or 7 years. And then after having worked at URGS, I was invited to work at the university because I don't know, they needed someone to be part of the group. They were not firing anyone, but like they needed one more professor, and then I started. And as time went by, there was a professor. He was my friend. He's my friend. He left because he passed a public contest, and then he said, would you take my groups? Do you accept? And then, of course, and then I've been there for 25 years. I mean, I started at the Language Institute, at the language course, and then altogether, then 25 years, but it's a long time, many years. It's nice to prepare people to be teachers. It's really beautiful to see the way they enter the course and the way they leave the course, how much they learned, all the experiences we exchange. And
yeah, that must be awesome. And when I have the chance to have conversations with my friend who's studying at La Salle, I always tell him, I hope you have classes with Alejandra, because as you are marvelous, let's say, as a person and as a teacher, and of course all of these experiences you had, you probably you have met a bunch of bad teachers as well, and so you can not just teach them how to teach, but also teach them how to behave and what that person shouldn't do, right? Because throughout our careers, let's say, we find a lot of people that are rude or that doesn't want to I don't know, be there for the kids, just this is what we have to learn, so that's that. Now it's time for you to put it on your notebook, and that's it. Teacher, I have a problem. Go to your place and finish what you have to do, right? So this is also nice because probably you are telling them, well, I had this experience with this person, and then do not do that, right? I believe that's one of the greatest things of having classes with people like you, let's say.
Thank you. If I didn't work as a teacher, I don't know what I would do, but anyway, I think you have to be polite everywhere you are, regardless of the career, because people don't like to be with rude professionals, a rude coworker, a rude boss. So if I worked with anything else, not teaching, I think I would have the same attitude, because I think that's the way it should be. And the atmosphere at work should be better, and people make the atmosphere be good or not. So I think we have to have our own responsibility on this. There is another word that is very much used in English, which is accountability, and being responsible for that place as well. do your part,
Yeah.
don't be polite. I think this is the basic thing.
And I believe we are easily influenced, I would say. So if we had bad people around us in the work environment, we get used to living these bad experiences, let's say. And then we just realize when we start having problems of our own, right? Like, or I was rude today and I don't know what happened, or based on what you based on how you are influenced by the others, right? So that should be something we have to be. That is something that we have to be careful. For example, these days I was rude in the classroom, and then I realized after I was rude, and I said, "Guys, I'm sorry. I'm a bit bad today." You know, or sometimes I ask them, "Guys, am I too grumpy today?" And then they say no or yes or something like that. So then I have this accountability, as you said, to avoid repeating. You know, sometimes you wake up in a bad way and then you go to school and then you, instead of a good morning, you are asked like, "Did you correct the test?" And then that's something that makes you a little bit sad, you know, or mad sometimes. And so I'm always doing this kinds of question. I'm always asking these kinds of questions to students to see if I'm all right or not. Some days I know I'm all right, but some days I realize I'm a bit grumpy, and then as they are used to my questions, sometimes they just say, you know, "What happened today?" You know, or something like that.
Which is nice,
So
man, to have this feedback.
yeah, it's awesome, and that's why sometimes when we are called to work in different places, we get a little bit. We start checking. Okay, so I'm going to earn more money, but my kids, you know. So this is
When you
something
like
that
when you like the
influences
place
it.
where you work now. But I think to new opportunities. I think we should be open to new opportunities, to new experiences. I think it's nice. All these years, I started working at the age of 19, teaching English. 19? Yeah, 19. And so I've been working for many years, and I have worked in different places. It's always a challenge to change. Every time there's a change in life, we feel insecure at the beginning, but I think it's good for the brain as well, like doing different things, being in different contexts with different people. And sometimes what we think might be not so good is really, really good. So we never know that. These days I was talking to a student from university, and I was congratulating her on her graduation. She graduated in pedagogy, but she's studying letras. She's still studying, and I said it's never late to start studying a course. I was thinking about studying philosophy, and she said, "Really, professor? How nice! Just to understand better some things, to read some different texts, not to be a teacher, you know, like for as a hobby." Uh, I was thinking, hey, I could study philosophy. I think I would like it. I love studying. I love
That's
reading.
awesome.
And so I think we
That's
should
cool.
be open to other things.
And well, it happened to you recently, right? You started working with and as in a bilingual school, right? And I remember you telling me that the kids are awesome in a way that you had never seen, right?
Yeah,
So
it's really, really good. Like there is the place where the student said, já tô finishando, uma coisa assim. I love when they invent things. They not everybody speaks fluently, of course not, but like they understand everything you say. The very young ones, you speak English with them, and they know what they have to do. They might answer back in Portuguese, but this is okay. This is the we call it receptive bilinguals, when the person understands the language but does not necessarily answers to you in the same language, but with his own his first language. Receptive bilingual. Oh, how important is this? Very important, because as the child keeps learning the language, he or she will become a fluent speaker of the language. But this is the moment when he or she or they are like receiving information, receiving, and use all those things. So it's okay if they don't answer when they are very young.
Yeah, and I believe it. I believe this is a very how could I say that? Not simple, but it's a very cool way to teach because they grow up without that thing in mind of like, this is difficult, or I will never speak English. For example, in my mind, I would never speak English, because of all the stereotypes we grow up with, right? So that's quite cool, and I believe they probably they will not grow up with this in mind, right? So that is cool. And the last question I would like to ask you before I let you go is something that I asked Stefan as well in the last conversation, and I think this is that will be a question for all the teachers I talk to. That is, how's life after teaching?
Can you repeat, please?
Sure. How's life after teaching? I mean, you didn't stop. I asked him because he stopped, but for you, how's life after teaching, or now that you're still teaching, how's that for you? For example, you started working with that, and how's life after that?
It's really part of my life. I can't imagine myself not being a teacher. So I was thinking these days, the day I retire, what I think I would like to teach people who can't pay for that, like, there's a group of people there in the community, I don't know where, somewhere in here, that they would like to learn, but they don't have financial conditions. I think I would like to work in a project like this. So it's going to be very hard for me to retire and do nothing that involves teaching. So I think volunteer work will be maybe part of my life in the future, because it's a pity that some people really want to learn a language and they can't pay for it. So it's hard to accept it, that we could help other people learn, and just because they don't have money, they don't have the chance. I think it's going to be like this until the end of my days.
Yeah,
something involving teaching.
You know what I imagine is as your daughter speaks English as well, and French and all this kind of things, French, English, Spanish, all the crazy, let's say, crazy environment when it comes to to languages. I imagine you teaching Portuguese abroad, because I don't know if you have ever seen, but there are some teachers that they post their things on Instagram and all this kind of things, like teaching American kids Portuguese, and sometimes with some songs, and some very Brazilian songs, I would say. And I imagined you doing that because eventually, probably your daughter is going to live a little bit abroad. Maybe, I don't know if this is one of her plans, but maybe as she is young and she speaks a bunch of languages, probably. And I can see you going with her and teaching Portuguese abroad. Am I crazy?
No. I mean, if she went abroad, I could go with her in the future and do that. But if she doesn't go, then I wouldn't go. Only if she went too, I believe. I don't know. We never know what's going to happen. I think the beginning of the story was I was going to be a secretary, and you see everything that happened. So we never know what's going to happen, and I'm not close to new opportunities. So I don't think it's not a crazy idea at all.
Yeah. As I told you, I wanted to be a soccer player once.
You
know, and now I'm teaching and I love it. And that's pretty cool, But there was, well, thank you very much for coming
You're
first, and
welcome.
for all what you have done to me and to all your students, everyone that has the opportunity of having classes with you. They always say the same thing, right? And that's pretty cool. And let's say people from my generation, people from other generations, like my friends that I told you, Antonio and Carol, they all had classes with you, and they always say that you are amazing. And then Rodrigo told me about your existence. I didn't know that there was a person like that alive, let's say.
I know.
And thank you very much for everything. We had a bunch of, this is something we are recording for me to post, and it's a project and whatever, but we had a bunch of other pretty cool conversations, and about life and about career, and well, the Spanish I'm speaking now, and it's amazing. Thank you very much, very very much.